Welcome to our latest episode of the ENT Review. We're back here today with Bob Glazer.
The legend.
The legend.
Yes.
Legend. I'm no legend. I'm just Bob.
We've known for many, many years, going back since the early days when Ascent was AOA, and it was just a nascent organization that was being grown up in real time by a bunch of forward-thinking administrators who then went on to become CEOs of practices. So Ronnie has all of the questions today. I believe in him.
I appreciate that.
Reluctantly.
I'm going to find 3 ways to mess this up just to get on her nerves today. I think that's a good idea.
Well, I'm excited about being here and taking on the questions because I love to talk.
Yes, let's do it.
You have a lot to share. So first and foremost, thank you for joining us, Bob. We appreciate that. As Laura had mentioned, you are a longtime administrator, but also a longtime partner and friend of Zora, and I think number 4, number 5? 5, yes. So a very long time. So thank you for that.
That means MiniCat number 5 when we count our serial numbers from number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And today we're about to get into quadruple digits.
Yes, we're excited about that.
We're about to install quadruple digit.
I think
MiniCat.
I was I think we leased the 500.
Yep.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You did too.
Yeah.
We have
It's
a
all about the
lovely
numbers.
picture with shout out Rachel Gaida and
Banner.
a banner. That's
Yeah.
what we call those things, like this.
That's right.
And she had a banner announcing the 500th MiniCat.
fun.
That's very, very exciting. Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Well, in keeping with that theme, Bob, obviously there had to have been a ton of changes since you first started, but if you could kind of think about or discuss the top 2, especially changes that are now most prevalent to an ENT practice today, what do you think those would be?
Yeah. So, well, number 1, I thank you for having me. I'm honored to be with a company that took a technology and exploded it, and now you're taking care of dogs and pets, and
Yeah.
I think that's unbelievable. We do anything for our dogs and our kids,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So, I started in 1997 with 12 doctors. Here we are today at 243 doctors, originally 6 locations, now 52 locations. And in just this past June, we saw in the month 130,000 patients.
Wow.
And we're expected to see over the next rolling 12 months, just in a major acquisition, merger of another 20 group, we will see 1.8 million patients in the next 12-month period. And here's the thing. We invested early on. You asked me about, what did I envision, what did I see I needed to do? And the first and foremost, and in any business, I don't care what business it is, good data. And, when I first started, they were on paper charts, and I couldn't tell what was going on. They couldn't read their own writing. So investing in technology, and specifically here I'm talking about investing in an EHR that was otolaryngology, allergy, and audiology specific. That was a journey, and it
That's
took
a nice
us
way of saying it. Obviously, with their fights and tears.
Yeah, listen, this was a journey. It took a lot of iterations, and one of the things I recognized early on is none of the EHRs, even to this day, is really otolaryngology, allergy specific. And if you're an EHR vendor and otolaryngology represents less than 3% of medical care, they're not going to spend the resources. So invest in your own employees, right? A message, buy the technology, invest in your own employees. In this case, I invested in our own programmers. That program the system to be much more otolaryngology friendly, but then at the next level, integrated to my finance and accounting system, to my call center system, to my data warehouses where we're doing dashboard clinical analytics. It really enabled me to do that. And if you're relying on outsiders, spend the money. It's the best investment you can make, and you get a much quicker return. And the technology then is much more customized and specific to your own needs. I guess the other big change is, when I started out 25 years ago, I would say 85% of all the physicians that I was interviewing were men.
Yeah.
And, now, first of all, if you look at the data, more than 50% of the folks that are in undergrad are women, right?
Huh.
Happy life, happy wife. You've got
That's
to
a dig at me, guys.
Right? I would tell you that it's really changed. Women are much more prevalent at every level. Physicians, administrators throughout. If you want a ongoing, thriving business practice, you need to embrace women coming into the organization. Very tough in a male-dominated subspecialty. Getting my own surgeons to admit they had biases, and then taking it to the next level, insisting that we develop a family leave policy that was friendly to women physicians, to enable them to have that balance between career and family. Up until 5 years ago, we did not have that. A woman surgeon who went on maternity leave, you had X number of vacation days left, and after that, you didn't have anything. Today, we will pay, I think, 4 months base salary, and by the way, for men and for women, because again, things changed. Men are much more, involved in their family lives than they were when my wife had our 2 kids. 2 weeks off, and I was back at work. In fact, it might have been less than 2 weeks, right? But you've got to adapt and embrace women surgeons in a otolaryngology practice, but also embrace the fact that if you want to move ahead, you have to have a diverse workforce, and that's the way new ideas come. It really does. So that would be.
Those are 2 big changes.
I think so.
I have to say that when I first started, even here at Zoran, it was extremely male-dominated, and now having more women around, there's a different energy. There's more diversity, but there's just different ideas, different ways of doing things. Do we look cute? Yes, but no, of course not. The present company excluded. Present company excluded.
Wait, so we don't look cute? We're excluded.
No, excluded from my commentary about how engineers enjoy their comfortable attire. Just that. But it does. It not only, when you change the demographic, you change a lot of how our children interruption when they come into the clinic, or is there ways to engage them and have them have content, right? And even the waiting room, you start thinking from a different perspective, right? When you have more of a diverse background as opposed to just how we've done things in the past.
Listen, I would tell you that what really pushed it for me in terms of family leave policy was my oldest is my daughter, my baby girl. Yeah. Well, my baby girl is now not a baby anymore, and she's now a professional, a medical malpractice defense attorney. Correct. And she was working in a big firm, right? Partnership track. You know the stresses of trying to do that. And here she was. She got married, and she wanted to have a family. And she came to me. Can you believe that this law firm does not have a family leave policy? And she then turned to me and said, "So, Dad, what's your family leave policy?" Okay. Now, this is my baby girl, right, who's telling me that she's going to bring me a grandchild, and I had to look her in the face and say, "I don't have one." And I would tell you, the next day, I went into my HR director and I said, "I need a family leave policy, and I need to convince the board to do that." And you know what? Again, it's still a male-dominated board. But I use that same line. If it was your daughter, how would you feel? Right. And, I think we all need to take a step back and think about that in all things in business decisions, right?
Well, otherwise, you just see women just leave the workforce. They opt out.
And those ideas and different mindsets go with them.
But we have a finite number of otolaryngologists coming out of residency. If they are going to ultimately opt out, then you're going to lose those people who can do the practice of medicine. So you're just limiting the pool of available clinicians.
Well, it's definitely forward thinking of you, and we've spent a lot of time at this trade show and on these podcasts recently talking about the business side of ENT, and it's kind of nice now to get a little bit on the personal side of ENT as well. So that's very forward thinking. what advice would you give to the new crop of MDs in kind of keeping with that, right? So should they look for practices with family leave policy? Should they look for practices who kind of welcome them in? Is it still the old guard with the old mentality of, well, I had to work 100 hours my first year every week, so you have to do that.
Yes.
What advice would you give them? And then kind of a follow-up to that, what advice would you give to a new crop of administrators? We have Ascent next week, as Laura had mentioned, brought up the organization. What advice can you kind of give to them?
Yeah, so let me start on the MD side. I spent a lot of time recruiting the next generation of physicians. And, number one, you really need to take a step back. They teach nothing in residency and medical school in that entire 10-year span between, or 8-year span between undergrad and finishing up an otolaryngology residency. Suddenly you're 32. It's the first time you're really going to get a job.
Yep.
You've been in this cocoon of academics. Nobody taught you about finances and building retirement plans and saving for houses and saving for growing a family and growing retirement plans. And you need to. This is the biggest decision, right? I mean, all the others you thought were great, were critical. Where am I getting into undergrad? It's so important. Where am I going to medical school?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It pales in terms of the next decision, because if you make the wrong decision, you're back out there and you've signed a contract with a restricted covenant and you can't even stay in the area,
right.
And you're starting fresh, because to build a good, robust physician practice is about building referral bases and patients who refer you.
Yep.
So it's a really critical decision, and I think you need to take a step back. You need to, what I say, make the 30-year career decision. You may not be no pressure, and you may not have a significant other yet. You may want to have a significant other.
Yeah.
Where am I gonna want to live? Where am I gonna raise my kids? Where am I now? Where am I going to be in 3 years from now? Well, I would tell you, wherever you're going to be in, you think in 3 years is where you should be practicing.
Yeah.
Because, as a physician, you need to be ready to be on call for the emergency room or a post-op bleed. So I think you need to take a step back and understand the consequences of this next very big decision and get educated. I can tell you that the lack of knowledge base on finances, on retirement fund planning, on taxes, right? I mean, think about taxes. You've never thought about taxes as a young resident because you weren't making enough money. Suddenly you're in a triple-digit income stream, and you take a look at the bottom line after the taxes come out, and people are wondering what happened. Well, it's happened to all of us.
Yes.
But if you do good planning and find the right practice who's developed, great retirement plans or interesting ways to provide compensation, all of a sudden it takes less of a bite out, and it helps build wealth toward retirement. Remember, it's not what you make, it's what you keep, right? And you've worked really hard as physicians to get to this level. Take the time to really have that serious conversation. Bring in, if need be, tax consultants, financial planning consultants, realtors to get a sense of, where do I want to live? School systems, all this stuff is going to come into play. With respect to administrators, listen, I think you need, all of us, and I find you need to have a tough skin, and you need to choose your words carefully, educate yourself, have good data to make informed decisions, learn how to use the data to influence others to get onto your same wavelength, plan for how you're going to propose new ideas and systems. Get people together on the same team before going public. Listen, I think that we all know it's business 101. Bigger is better, right? Bigger is better. That's how you can survive in a tough business climate. We started with 12 doctors, 242. It's been a 25-year run. We are better off. We're doing better bottom line results than ever. and people pick up the phone or answer my emails pretty quickly because they know that, you know, we have some clout in this geography. So I think it's business 101. Everybody needs to take a step back. You know, people have asked me, well, Bob, why aren't you in Kentucky? Why aren't you in Maine? Well, you know, build geographic clout. That's how you gain power. If you're, you know, dispersed, at least in the House of Medicine, where healthcare is local, reimbursement is local, build geographic clout. So that would be my thoughts.
Do you think that would ever change? Do you think that practices or groups can get large enough that maybe that they can cross state lines or cross regions and to grow into something even bigger?
Yeah.
Then this way they'd have more clout, be, you know, more better ability to negotiate and kind of get things to help better serve them in their practice.
Yeah, a lot of people have asked me that. So, you know, we started with a couple of practices in New York and one in New Jersey. And today, if you look at our map, we probably have, I don't know, 12 locations, maybe 15 locations in New Jersey. And we selectively looked at what areas, you know, southern New Jersey is a different market than northern New Jersey.
That's very
in terms
political.
of,
I was getting braced for impact.
No, in terms of the payers. The Blue Cross in southern New Jersey is Blue Cross of Philadelphia.
Oh,
right, and so it's a different payer contract, right?
Got it.
So there's a point when you look at the map in New Jersey that you say, okay, anything south of here, that doesn't make sense.
Yep.
Where can I, you know, continue to use our leverage? If you look at where my office is in Westchester, I'm literally 12 minutes from Connecticut. Yet we don't have any practices in Connecticut. And why is that? Because when you cross the border, instead of it's Blue Cross of New York, I got to go open up a discussion with Blue Cross of Connecticut, and they're not even going to talk to me because I don't have one doctor there, right? And so, you know, the doctors in Western Connecticut have come to me and said, well, how about we join you? And, you know, it's a 3-man group or it's a 6-man group. It's not big enough for us to have an impact where somebody's going to call me back. So I think that, could that change? Would that change? Well, certainly if I had an impactful presence in Connecticut. Just so happened that earlier today, a physician came up to me and says, I have a group with 21 physicians.
Wow.
21's a good number, right? 3, that's a good, 21, good. So yeah, I could see, but there's a business rationale to do that because they're bringing me enough clout to do that. You know, would I go to Massachusetts? No. Right? Are the payers going to start to interact? And we've seen that in some subspecialties. But we haven't seen it in otolaryngology. And I think that in the subspecialties where you're seeing it, radiology, maybe anesthesia, if you think about those subspecialties, they're using a lot of mid-level providers that are not really, you know, they're providing the care. Otolaryngology and allergy is hands-on. It's, you know, the surgeons and the allergists or audiologists. It's really hands-on, and it's nobody else's hands, right? So I don't see the payers moving in that direction.
They don't have a need to.
No, and I haven't seen, you know, I've heard it for 45 years, you know, they're going to get everybody and capitate everybody. I haven't seen it in our market. I know it's happening in other markets. I'm blessed. I live and work in the New York metropolitan area. It's a very diverse marketplace with a lot of different companies, international companies. So there's no one payer that can dominate. And if you want to attract the talent that it takes to work and live and thrive in the New York metropolitan area, you got to offer great benefits, healthcare benefits. So I'm not thinking that I'm going to see that you know, rates, national rates, anytime soon. Yeah.
And they've touched on it a couple of times throughout our podcast so far, and thank you for that. But what are some of the other things, other than, you know, being able to negotiate and being bigger? What are, you know, and obviously family leave and the other things that we discussed that physicians can gain when joining a practice like ENT and allergy, or if they're unable to join because, let's say, they're on the west side or in the south, what can they join or gain by grouping together themselves?
Yeah. So certainly, listen, again, Business 101, build a bigger organization, build enough infrastructure, and then physicians can concentrate on being physicians and not, which copier should I do, right? And negotiating the cost of all the supply chain issues, whether it's hearing aids to medical supplies to, even CT scanners, leases for buildings that you want to occupy, instruments, the whole range of all the support supplies. But again, I would also go to employees, having a rich organization, a diverse organization, being able to attract the kind of employee that can deliver, that wants to remain. One of the proudest things I do when people come to visit me in our corporate office, and I give them a tour, and I can look at them and say, meet my chief operating officer, she's been with me 28 years. Meet my chief financial officer, he's been with me 25 years. Meet my director of our EHR implementation team. She started out as a medical assistant, and she's now with me 21 years and overseeing this whole EHR implementation. Look at my director of marketing, who used to be the guy behind the tennis and racquetball reservation desk at my health club, who I saw as being able to really manage crazy people demanding tennis reservations 17 years ago, and he's now my senior director of marketing, running what I think is the best ENT marketing program in the country.
I did see a nice post on LinkedIn of a New Jersey clinic, so
that's right.
Second that.
So, and taking marketing to a whole other level. So, one of the things that I think you gain when you join an organization like that is professional management, who is geared to doing the best thing for the practice in every avenue, whether it's supply chain issues, technology issues, employee recruiting issues, marketing issues, compliance issues. It's complicated. It's complicated what we're doing. And physicians, it's complicated to be a doctor. And, there's a lot of people who want to attack physicians and outcomes. And, that's what they should be concentrating on, ensuring that their clinical expertise remains at the top of your game. Figuring out, which copier to buy is not what they should be concentrating on. So, and beyond that, getting back the other part, this balance. We all have it, right?
Balance,
career and family. I've got 2 kids. I've got a grandson now. We've all got. You're about to have a second baby. In fact.
Oh, no, we can't knock the juju.
30 hours.
We're waiting.
I gotta just last.
He's here, right? And his wife should have gone into labor yesterday.
No, not going into labor yet.
Yes.
No.
We're not saying the words.
So, we're trying to get through today, and then I'm going to tell him to get his ass back home. That's what I'm going to tell him. But
that's actually, I think she'll appreciate
I am not telling. My wife would have said, "You're not going."
Yes. My wife is very gracious. I could not do what I do without her. She's my love.
This balance that we all try to have. And listen, my kids, I wanted to be at my daughter's ballet lessons. I wanted to be at my son's soccer games. I wanted to be the basketball coach. I'm growing this practice during this period of time, right? And I was really blessed that my office was within 15 minutes, and I could run back and forth. And I developed a great team of people under me. So being able to have this balance of, being there for the family, taking those family vacations, having those moments that we're never going to forget. It's really important that you figure that out. And
on both sides.
I think that physicians who try to be both a great clinician and run a business, they're going to lose. Something's going to break, right? So again, a large organization with the wherewithal to do this enables a physician to, at the end of the day at 4:30, close the EHR file, go home to your kids and your family.
I've always been in awe on how you've been able to run your practice, but specifically from the standpoint of yes, you work for the physicians, but you get to make decisions that help them, and ultimately they respect that. And I think that's been one of the biggest reasons that you've been able to grow the way you have. And I think some practices lack that. Administrators have to do their work, physicians have to do their work, but both have to work together and respect each other.
Yeah, I think being respectful of, we are a physician-owned company, right? And I work for the physicians, and I let every one of my staff know, hey, we work for physicians. That's our goal. Now, on the other hand, yeah, they gave me the keys to the car 25 years ago, and I've created a mechanism, a role of committee work where I get real physician input in the critical decision making. They don't want to know hiring and firing employees, but they want to know about, what's the strategy on the next group that we're looking at? How are we involving them in recruiting the next generation? What are we thinking about in terms of technology, and how do we, develop a more efficient allergy delivery system? How do we integrate CT and radiology in a more effective way? How do we use that to create a better patient experience, right? I mean, that's the real goal here. You want to create a better patient experience. A great patient who walks out of our office, we want them out there saying, this was a great experience. I was at an event last week where there were a lot of, a cross-section of business and politicians. There must have been 75 folks there. And I can tell you that, and they were from the greater New York metropolitan area, how many people came up to me and said, oh, we just came from one of your offices. It was the smoothest visit I've had from all my physicians that I go to. Your physicians were spot on. The check-in process, the check-out, the atmosphere in the office. And it's stressful to be sick, right? And we can't forget that. When people are sick, they are concerned with it. They don't know what's going on, right? And you need to bring down the level and get them comfortable. And I think
patients are savvy today, though. Like, they know the check-in process should be seamless. Are you really going to give me 15 pages of paper to fill out with a...
Could I have done it on my phone before I got in?
Pen?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like, what are we doing right now? How is this? Are the staff going to ask me intrusive questions that have nothing to do with what I came here today for? Am I going to have to take them to church this afternoon? It's going to happen. But no, not in your practice, because everyone's been trained about the patient experience.
Yes, and again, I get an email on every social media complaint that we get. We saw 130,000 patients in the month of June. I got, in the month of June, I believe 8 complaints. Right? That's a pretty good number.
Yes, pretty good number.
Yes.
And
customer service, take note.
Half of those were crazy patients.
So you were dealing with
but there were 4 that were
challenges.
legit, and you know what? You got to take that and say, how do we do it better?
Yeah.
So we can all learn from, our patients who are great educators in themselves.
Yep.
Right? Great. All right. What do you got for me next?
This has been one of my favorites, so we can keep going on and on, but I'm sure you have to go and
He's give like 2 more talks today or something.
I am giving.
I
gave a lecture yesterday to the Board of Governors. They asked me to, or it's sponsored by the Board of Governors, and they asked me to talk about recruiting challenges.
Wow.
And that was great. This afternoon I'm doing a talk that I titled, If I Knew Then, What I Know Now. I'm very excited about that.
Okay.
And I got a cross-section of otolaryngologists, academic and private practice, to answer that question.
Okay.
And so I'm very excited about sharing that.
Okay.
I'm doing one, again, I'm a data guy, right? So I'm doing one called Otolaryngology Analytics. And finally tomorrow, I'm on a panel with a professor at Harvard and a woman otolaryngologist out in the state of... Yes. Well, no, a woman otolaryngologist. Women as wealth builders, I like to say. But she is from the state of Washington. And we're doing a talk on knowing your network.
Oh, okay.
Right? And being knowledgeable to be able to negotiate from strength.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because women need to negotiate. We all need to negotiate for training. But listen,
but no, the
I
statistics
think that,
about that.
you know, when
That's
you
true.
look at, you know, the history, I think that women need to learn how to be more educated, to be in a better position to negotiate. And they are definitely getting better at it. And I want to say I'm helping.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
So
Great.
So that's
Well,
my deal.
busy next couple of
And
days.
then I
Very
got to
informative.
run back to New York and stay tuned. I got some serious press releases going on. All
Okay. All right.
Be on
There's
the lookout.
big news coming up. It's
Yes.
heard it here.
right. Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Rami, you want to take us out?
Nope, that's all you. It's you.
Okay, this has been Bob Glazer and Rami Al-Zubi and me, Laura Dennis, and thank you, everybody. And that is it for us from the Academy.
Bye, guys.